You guys, Starbucks just got exposed by its own employees for putting this in their drinks.
Okay guys, so this is me and Lori. We're gonna be testing out the blending powder because as you guys know, it's toxic.
So that's what we're talking about today. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to the Gorgiss Society. Apparently, Starbucks is under fire for some disgusting, cheap mess, I should say. So we're going to hear from actual Starbucks employees who work there and get the inside scoop on what's going on with this whole blended powder fiasco.
You guys, Starbucks just got exposed by its own employees for putting this in their drinks.
Okay guys, so this is me and Lori. We're gonna be testing out the blending powder because as you guys know, it's toxic. This stinks so bad.
Now, yes, I know what you're asking yourself is, what the hell are they putting in these drinks? Well, this is a blending powder, and why does it sound like that? Well, because it's actually silicon dioxide, also known as silica. It is a chemical compound made up of silicon and oxygen, aka sand and rock dust that you would commonly see on a construction site. But don't worry, the FDA says in small amounts, it is perfectly safe, used as an anti-caking additive. And let's not forget, I just posted this video not too long ago where I was showing you this organic mac and cheese had the same additive, silicon dioxide. How is it organic? Oh, but that's not all. This additive actually causes gut inflammation and other allergies. In a 2024 study by McMaster's University indicates while the food-grade silica does not directly kill gut cells, long-term exposure in mice alter gut immune function. Not to mention, the food-grade silica naturally contains tiny nanoparticles. And some labs suggest that highly concentrated nanoparticles can cause cellular oxidative stress. Bro, what? I'm doing a bigger breakdown on my YouTube, The Maverick Approach. And are you guys still drinking Starbucks? Let me know below.
I'm not. I haven't drank Starbucks in quite some time. I know I have a play aunt that gives me Starbucks gift cards, and the last couple of times that I used the gift card money, I was buying like their cute cups and mugs and all of that, but not the drinks. And from what it sounds like that was a good call.
Our union just demanded to bargain and get more information from Starbucks over their new silica-based powder, including a demand for the OSHA required safety data sheet. So I'm going to explain to you what all of this means and how this might be impacting the health of Starbucks baristas. So last week, Starbucks launched this new ingredient that baristas have claimed made them sick. While the blending powder ingredient is listed as food safe, it tends to become airborne. So whenever we empty the contents of this package into a container to put on cold bar and we're scooping this powder into the blender, a big cloud of dust gets inhaled by us when we handle this to make these drinks. We've gotten comments where partners have said they've gotten headaches, sore throats, coughing fits, and even hives. On top of this, in-store Starbucks AI system tells baristas to avoid breathing dust as inhalation may cause irritation to the respiratory tract. Even though there were no warnings about this on the blending powder packaging, and the company isn't training us on how to safely handle this powder. That's why having a union in your store means that we have the power to hold the company accountable. Things like this shouldn't happen. Starbucks is legally obligated to bargain with union baristas about the changes that impact our working conditions. Starbucks keeps adding all kinds of things to our job, and this is so much bigger than the blending powder. We need a say in our workplace conditions, hours, pay, and other protections. So we'll keep you posted on what happens with our demand and what further steps we're going to make sure that every union partner feels safe on the job. If you have questions, whether you're a union barista or you're at a not yet union store, hit the link in our bio and get connected with an organizer who can answer questions that you might have.
So both of those last two videos exposing the silica that apparently is listed as, food grade. So it makes it seem innocent and everything. But when you Google a certain thing and Google the benefits or the harmful effects of it, even though it might be deemed as safe, and the FDA about worth a plucked nickel, as my grandfather used to say, the FDA was just they let stuff pass that causes all kind of manner of health issues with people. So I hate to hear that the Starbucks workers are experiencing health issues, but think, you're hours and hours working in, day out, breathing in this stuff. Like lung irritation can turn into something more, beyond that. Hives, all this, that, and the third. And, then to see that the Starbucks AI is telling them not to come into contact, don't breathe it in and all this. But I really do hope that they're able to unionize, because that's ridiculous. It's a coffee shop. Like, it should never have gotten this bad to where the workers need to form a union. I mean, unions have been, historically reserved for like folks working in the coal mines and, under deplorable health conditions and, life on the line every day. And it's really sad that now that's literally what equates to what's going on with the workers being exposed to this crap behind the scenes, day in and day out.
You may have recently seen videos of Starbucks baristas making drinks with an ingredient that looks like a straight up occupational hazard. Take a look. So this is Starbucks' new blending powder mix-in, and not to put our tinfoil hats on, but we're not sure corporate didn't roll out this mess just to make unionizing baristas even more miserable than they already are. Hear us out. So this blending powder goes into their blended refreshers drinks to basically act as an emulsifier, and it contains silica and is super fine in texture to the point where it basically becomes airborne when it comes out of the package. And of course, baristas are the ones forced to breathe it in, and they're having health issues from it. Starbucks Workers United has reported that workers have come down with everything from headaches and coughing fits to hives and sore throats while working on the bar due to exposure to this dust. And corporate is telling the workers that the way to prevent dust inhalation is by pouring the bags of powder in containers slower. Yet, they're also pressuring baristas to work faster. And it gets even more ironic, because one way workers could temporarily protect themselves for this particulate would be wearing PPE like face masks, which are made for these kinds of workplace hazards. And we say temporarily because these conditions are not okay, so corporate needs to stop ignoring the union's demands for transparency around this ingredient. Yet, rumors have been swirling since last year that some supervisors have been banning employees from wearing face masks. Starbucks' attack on their baristas' health has never been more clear and seemingly coordinated, but again, we're just pro-worker, anti-billionaire conspiracy theorists. It's not as if Starbucks' very own internal AI chatbot literally says workers should avoid breathing in the dust because it can cause irritation to the respiratory tract. But as always, shouts out to the brave baristas blowing the whistle by posting these videos, because if it was left to corporate to tell everyone the truth, we know we would never hear it. They know that this mixing powder has gotten bad press and that baristas are struggling and potentially being harmed. Which is of course why they released this 2-sentence statement claiming that the product is food safe. But food safe doesn't equate to inhalation safe, which is why Starbucks workers are fighting to bargain and get corporate to fess up the OSHA safety data information as opposed to PR slop about the silica-based powder. Just call this exhibit number 1 million of why we should still be listening to Starbucks baristas when they tell us we need to boycott Starbucks. Still.
Yeah, I agree. And I haven't even use my gift card. I have money just on there sitting from my from my play aunt, always sending me e-gift cards for it. But I haven't even purchased a cup or a mug from there in at least 2 years. But I'm not gonna lie. I used to be a Starbucks girl. I was always a gold level member with everything, and I liked their food and stuff too, like the croissants and shortbread stuff and the muffins and I loved a good matcha tea latte and all of that stuff. But once I started changing around my health routine, I started about 4 years ago. A lot of things just don't fit into my health and fitness routine anymore. And Starbucks was one of those things. And again, I'm glad that I started shifting away from it anyway, because it seems like this is the thing that really irks me about corporations is the being cheap and the cutting of the corners. Like, you don't need to sacrifice your product and the quality of your product and how your product affects your consumer. Like, there's other ways you can cut corners. Close down some of the locations, consolidate, stop being just so big and gargantuan, with everything that you do. But I will never understand these corporations that have a poor food quality, and where it makes the people who consume their food sick. You would think they would want to keep their consumer healthy so they can keep coming back to eat there, not let them get sick and then they perish, and then now you've lost the consumer. But they don't think of it like that. It's just the quickest dollar, fast food, the convenience of it all, But I will never understand that sacrificing quality just for an extra dollar. I mean, you're already successful, like the McDonald's and the Starbucks of the world. You're already successful. You aren't, like some up and coming, that has to, have a lesser quality of this, or you can't afford that, can't do that. That's not you. You're making conscious decisions to have crappy, low quality food that affects the human body in devastating ways.
We have a very interactive whiteboard lesson today because I am very pissed about the blending powder that Starbucks released, okay? It was unnecessary, it's dangerous, and I'm going to teach you about silica in a non-fear-mongering way and teach you why the Starbucks barista's risk exposure to silica is much higher than your typical average everyday silica risk exposure. But what the fuck is silica? It's a naturally occurring mineral crystal. Silicon dioxide is found within the Earth's crust. It's crystalline and amorphous, two different kinds. The crystalline is the silica that you think about when you think of coal miners, when you think of miner's lung, black lung, all that. It is proven as a toxin, as a carcinogen. It is proven to create lung disease when inhaled. It's really bad. It has a crystal structure. It's not good for you. It comes from rocks, quartz, pottery, all things like that. Amorphous silica is the silica that you think of when you think of those little packets, the thing that's in food, anti-caking. It's also used to make tires, and it's used as pest control. It is an unstructured chemical. It is seen everywhere, like I said. The FDA has generally recognized it as safe, which isn't really a certification, but that's not what this video is about. But it is FDA approved to be consumed. It is a proven irritant, however. It is proven to irritate the lungs. There is not a lot of research on the effects of amorphous silica risk as opposed to crystalline. A couple studies I could found were in 1990 and in 2002. And at the end of the 2002 study, they said there needs to be more studies on this because there's no research. The research that was done was in animals, and they showed that the animals had reversible irritation from inhaling non-contaminated amorphous silica. And there are 4 reported cases of silicosis from exposure to uncontaminated amorphous silica. Contamination is apparently really common with amorphous silica, especially if it's not synthesized. So naturally, it's more likely to be contaminated. A lot of people have been commenting that everyone is stupid and fear-mongering because there is silica in everyday household food product. While that is true, the exposure risk from an everyday food product versus the volume of food product that a Starbucks barista is handling is what makes the difference, the exposure risk, actually like a risk. So if we look at the drawing here, I outlined the little spice container and this 6-ounce bag of Airheads Bites. I thought this would be the same size as the blending powder bag, but that is 12 ounces. So this is even half of the exposure. Just looking at the picture, which container do you think is going to give you a more exposure risk? Probably the one where you're working with more product, right? Because think of like spice or like just very little things like flour. You're just using little bits. It's just a little, and it's just a one-time thing. Now, when a barista's on hold bar, especially during peak, they are at that position for 1 to 2 hours. So they are making these drinks for 1 to 2 hours. This is roughly the size of an inclusions container from Starbucks, and this is roughly the size of a scoop. This is a tablespoon. When I worked at Starbucks, we would go through 3 to 4 vanilla bean blending powder inclusion containers per day. So I can only imagine how much of this shit is getting in a barista's lungs because it's fucking summer. Everyone wants a blended drink. It's fucking summer. And here's the thing about these powders. Most Starbucks stores have the baristas store the containers at eye level on these little metal hooks. And again, they have to make these drinks in a human amount of time, in like 45 seconds when it takes 20 seconds to blend it. So instead of taking it off the metal thing, carefully putting it down, picking up the scoop no, they're gonna take it from the top, they're gonna take the scoop down, throw it all around, there's gonna get powder all over. And in fact, I believe that this could allegedly be contaminated with more silica than what is safe. Did y'all see the video of the baristas who threw away this blending powder and it kept erupting out of the garbage can like dust for like minutes on end? Yeah, that shit's staying in the air. It doesn't matter. We're gonna go over to the critical thinking corner, where you turn on your brain and you make thoughts that aren't directly presented in front of you. Do you know about the disease called baker's lung? It's a very well documented phenomenon against like bakers, pastry chefs, where they have asthma. It's occupational asthma, but baker's lung specifically comes from inhaling at different flours, wheat, rye, all of the additives in the flours, and them not having the proper PPE. There were also different types of flours that were much more irritating. Pressured employers, bakers pressured employers to have them stop working with those flours because those are the ways to mitigate exposure and risk of baker's lung. Baker's lung also has very similar symptoms to what these Starbucks baristas are experiencing. So my theory, allegedly, I were to guess, Starbucks cheaped out on some really low quality silica or a low quality manufacturer, made this blending powder because they only care about greedy profits. They didn't need to make this blending powder. They had the cream base right there that would keep everything together. They made this blending powder. It was over formulated with way too much silica, or it was contaminated. And now these baristas are starting to get occupational asthma. And just because you are exposed to silica every single day does not mean that these baristas are not getting sick. If it bothers you so much that a barista has the chance of getting sick from making your drink, why don't you actually go complain to the company that made the choice to make a product that's dangerous to create? You can also do your own research. I will be linking all of my sources in the caption below. There's a lot of different articles. I couldn't read them all because a lot of them are behind a paywall. If you have access to those, that's great. Link in bio to support the Starbucks union with my petition. Follow the Starbucks Workers United. Boycott Starbucks. Class is dismissed for now.
And there you have it. And it's not a bad suggestion. Like, even if you're not officially doing it because you want to boycott, taking a stand, take a stand for your health and just, stop patroning their business on a regular basis until you can just be done with it, or make your own at home so you know exactly what's going in. What's going into your body and into those drinks, and that's a lot of things they don't have. Starbucks is using this, but they don't have to use it because apparently there's a cream base that they were previously using that takes like 3 pumps of it, and it's fine. It's cream based. It's not this powder blend that they're using, trying to be super cheap now. And Starbucks doesn't have any studies or anything to determine the long-term effect. They're just like, FDA says it's food grade, pressing forward. This will slash our bottom line. This will slash our bottom line in half, or however much that they're saving by using this cheap crap.
Starbucks baristas' collars are officially blue and their necks are officially red because they are subject to the same exact lung health safety risk as blue collar workers because of the new blended refresher launch. The new blended powder in the blended refreshers contains silica powder, silicone dioxide, which is an anti-clumping, anti-caking agent that is FDA approved for consumption. But when the particles are inhaled, the crystals, which are meant to be like anti-moisture, like moisture wicking products, irritates the nostrils and the throat. You get a sore throat, you cough, all of that because you're making a fucking blended refresher. And here's the thing, if Starbucks stores were unionized nationwide and there was an actual barista in leadership making product decisions and new drink launches and all that, this would have never happened. The cream frappuccino base, which I don't know it still exists, I don't work at Starbucks currently, but the cream frappuccino base, the little clear corn syrup base, would have been perfectly fine to use to make these blended refreshers. Like when you make a strawberry blended lemonade, that's what you use, and you could have just measured the refreshers like the frap lines. No, but instead, Starbucks baristas literally should be wearing a respirator, just like someone drywalling a house or mining coal should wear, so they don't breathe in silica powder and destroy their fucking lungs. If you have gone home sick after working cold bar making these drinks using the blended powders, please go to this post on the Starbucks Workers United page, comment, and tell them about your experience, because they are asking for that right now, and this is actually quite literally ridiculous.
It really is. And see, she mentioned the coal workers because I didn't watch her full video ahead of time, because I like to react to things as organically and in the moment as possible. But she brought up the coal mine. She brought up the cream base. So it's like, it's just no excuse. And I hope there are Starbucks workers who do report what they're going through officially, so they could be, they could be helped. And this right here is just a video of a Starbucks worker in action. Look how disgusting that looks. Like, having that in your body and your body having to process that and break down that fake chemical crap, like, how would there not be adverse effects? How would there not be adverse effects to that? Like, your body recognizes real recognizes real, as Dr. Bobby Price would say, a holistic doctor. But anyhow, your body recognizes real whole foods, but that chemical crap, it doesn't, so it's not a match. But that was really gross what we just saw, the consistency of it, like a mess. And then here are just some of the comments, and there are a lot of Starbucks workers chiming in here and sharing their experience of having to work every day in and day out around this stuff to begin with. It's really crazy. So we have like people talking about, like they said in the video, throat hurting. What she put, Starbucks barista here at my store. They told us we're not allowed to talk about this anymore. It's just a TikTok rumor, but almost all of us feel sick now because of it. My throat burns every day at work. My coworkers have the same symptoms. They keep trying to gaslight and manipulate us, telling us it's safe and basically that we're all lying. Anyways, I hope they get sued like hell and lose lots of money, because not only are baristas breathing it in, any customers that come into our store are also being exposed. Frick you, Starbucks, kick rocks. And then another person says, voice went all raspy for a few hours. Another one says, I hold my breath and lean away every time I have to make one. Another worker says, got sick on my last shift, couldn't come into this one. They literally tested me for strep, but it was negative. If I knew about the powder before I went to the doctors, I would have mentioned it. Another one says, I had a blended drink, felt terrible for hours, then threw up. I'm a barista. Another one said, my head just hurts so bad. I feel like I'm getting brain freeze. Another one says, no, because I tried it today as a customer and my entire throat closed up at work and I felt like I was choking. My voice went all raspy for a few. Okay, that's insane. Like, those are some very intense bodily symptoms and responses, like very intense allergic reactions. That last one sounded anaphylactic, like where it was hindering her from being able to breathe properly, to where she might have to get medical assistance. So at this point, and I guess they just introduced this, they need to relax, because there's about to be like a whole line of lawsuits. That's why it doesn't pay to be cheap and to put people's health on the line just to save a buck, because you end up paying for it all in the back end via lawsuits and the like. So, and your reputation. That's the one thing that I'm really grateful for with social media, is that it gives us a voice to be able to keep each other informed on things we need to avoid and things that need to be changed and brought to the mat. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Make your own coffee at home. you'll be all the more safer for it. So thanks again for spending some time with me here at the Gorgiss Society. I'll see you next time.